Hello everyone, Mariana here, founder of Change Naturopathy, and we are here up to video 5 talking about anxieties in children. Today topics, it's really important, and it's a topic that you as a parent and as a family might be able to change and help with management anxiety in your children. We will be talking about how foods and foods that we are feeding our children today could affect the trigger of anxiety and increasing anxiety symptoms. So how fast convenient foods that we are all consuming and feeding our children today influence vitamin and mineral deficiencies, food intolerances, and mental health issues like anxieties in our children and in us adults. So you may be surprised to know that actually nutrition and diet has a really big part and huge influence on overall health and chronic disease development or mental, including the mental health diseases like anxiety in your children. When your nutrition and overall health is compromised, these commonly considered factors can trigger anxiety and even much more like other chronic conditions, as I mentioned. So let's have a look in some of those nutritional factors that might trigger anxiety in your child. If your child has anxiety, it is really important to look at their diet and diet of the whole family. Inflammatory foods may increase inflammation, may increase pain, may increase the risk of health issues like anxiety. So they can trigger and start anxiety. Dietary food choices can cause, as I mentioned, inflammation. They can weaken your immune system and your child's immune system. They can cause food sensitivities, allergies, microbial imbalances in our gut and our children's guts, hormonal imbalances, and nutrition deficiencies because of lack of nutrients or inability of those nutrients to be absorbed due to inflamed or compromised gut. So that's happening when we usually eat standard westernized diet, which includes lots of processed foods like pizzas, donuts, fried chicken, hot dogs, and many other type of things. Those foods, what we can all together call junk foods. And if we eat that foods and feed our kids with these foods all the time. These foods are processed, loaded with lots of chemicals, genetically modified, contaminated usually with heavy metals and pesticides, which is one of the causes of many chronic diseases, including anxiety and mental health issues. Any other behavioral and mental health issues in children. So what they have in common, those kind of fast processed, overly chemically loaded foods, they lack in probiotic fibers and phytonutrients that we actually can get from produce like vegetables and fruit. So our gut microbiome, what is very important and what we will talk more about tomorrow in tomorrow's video, needs lots of the fiber and phytonutrients to feed on. That's the food for our good bacteria in the gut. And if they are reducing numbers, so if we don't feed them with enough fibers, enough natural produce like vegetables and fruit, they will reduce in numbers, so we will start having imbalances in our gut. So certain foods like and foods additives, so food compounds can cause anxiety, anger, aggression, and behavioral changes in our kids. Refined sugar, for example, I will list now several of them. I can't include all of them and list all of them in this short video, but I will list the main main bad ingredients in all of those processed foods. So we will start with sugar and in processed foods. That refined sugars are really incredibly inflammatory for our bodies. When you eat too much sugar, your body simply cannot process quickly enough. So as a result, the increasing pro-inflammatory messages called cytokines that are responding to that increased amount of sugars that we intake, and they actually fight off that sugar and look at that sugar like invaders to our bodies and to our children's body. That may lead to physical and mental issues, because increasing those cytokines, pro-inflammatory cytokines, start to increase the inflammation as our immune system is fighting sugar as an invader. So processed food is not only high in sugar, altogether with sugar there will be usually another chemicals and anxiety triggering substances like processed vegetable oils, artificial flavorings, gluten, additives, etc. So definitely sugar is number one cause of, number one cause of and trigger for chronic diseases like anxiety. Then let's talk about gluten and grains. Gluten is protein found in wheat, in a variety of grains, and especially in wheat. Wheat, barley and rye, and gluten is especially problematic for people who are allergic to it, so people who have celiac disease. But many other people who are not diagnosed with celiac disease, who are not allergic, totally allergic, 100% allergic to gluten, they are also finding very sensitive to gluten and can react to gluten, not in that level like celiac disease people, but in smaller amounts and over time, and then they producing again, body producing and immune system producing lots of inflammation on reaction to gluten, or intake lots of amounts of gluten. And not always it's gluten. There are many other proteins in grains and in wheat that people react and that people are sensitive to. So overall, grains can be big triggers and produce some inflammation in our body. So gluten definitely can be one of the triggers and one of the causes of anxiety in your child. Artificial flavoring. Those ingredients are designed to enhance flavor, to enhance color, and also extend the shelf life for many products, packaged products that we all use. Aspartame and MSGs are also very dangerous, two particularly dangerous additives, artificial flavorings that may trigger anxiety. However, you need to be careful with all artificial ingredients and other additives or preservatives, including monosodium glutamate, artificial coloring, high fructose corn syrup, guar gum, sodium benzoate, trans fats, any artificial flavoring. They all may lead to inflammation and increase the risk of chronic diseases and trigger anxiety. I mentioned before processed vegetable oils. Those vegetable oils such as corn, peanut oil, canola oil, soybean oil, sunflower oil, cottonseed oil, they're all high in omega-6, which are quite pro-inflammatory. Those fatty acids, omega-6, are quite pro-inflammatory, and if we intake them all the time in a high amounts, they will definitely start producing inflammation in our body. This means that that inflammation will contribute to triggering the production of start of chronic diseases like anxiety and possibly some pain in the body and many other health issues. So then we go on to conventional meat products. So many people will feed children with conventional meat products, and meat is a very good protein, and it's good choice for feeding the children for their growth. However, of course, if you're a vegetarian, if you that's your choice, you should choose other sources of protein, plant proteins. But in case of meat, if we decide to, if we are having a meat in your cooking for your family and feeding your child with meats, we should always try to choose the organic, locally produced meat, not conventionally grown meats, because those kind of meats are grown with additives, added hormones and antibiotics, just to make sure that those cattle, when they're growing, give much more amount of meats for sale later on, and to stay healthy. And they are also fed with corn and grain and other grains instead of grass, what is widely available for animals outside. So as a result, those kind of meats, because they are loaded with antibiotics and hormones and fed with grain, they are very pro-inflammatory when we intake them in our body. So that's that's why many kids would react on those additives and those meats over the time. All of those chemicals that we talk about, couple of videos about, will trigger and start triggering some issues with behavior or anxiety or any other chronic diseases. Then we have GMO and glyphosides that I mentioned in a previous video, that definitely affect the nutritional quality of food what we eat. Research on GMOs and glyphosides demonstrated that they affect health of the brain and body and contribute to ADHD, autism, anxiety in children. So why so bad? They are bad because they are originally found out and produced to target the weeds and to kill the enzymes that produce certain amino acids in the weeds. So the problem with pesticides, that they are very effective, and these synthetic chemicals in conventional pesticides sterilized crops. They are grown for our food. So they not only eliminate pests and insects on the crop, they also actually destroying the all good microbiome in the soil that exists, and it's good to feed all our plants, and then they would be good for population of our microbiome in our guts and animal guts. So because of this, because the glyphosides and chemicals that what I added in the glyphosides and GMOs act as antibiotic, they really destroy all of that good microbiome in the soils. So we end up with plants and crops that are not getting good nutrients from the soils, and we don't get from our soils also that good microbiome what we would do if we didn't use the glyphosides and GMOs. Another thing that we can think of, it's too much caffeine. So in case for adults and for the older children, caffeinated drinks and coffee, they may trigger anxiety, and that's on the basis that coffee and other caffeinated drinks, soda, energy drinks, cause the jittering effect. They actually trigger that flight and fight response, the stress response, because they increase our stress hormones in our body. So they rave us up, give us more energy instantly, but then after that we slam down. The same happening in a child's body. So they're also full of sugar, and sugar works on the same in the same way. So really, it's not very good to allow kids to have many of those energy caffeinated drinks. I mean, we're talking here probably about all the kids and teenagers who are, we can see using lots of these, and I see that is being popular in their age. So on top of that, I will just explain how actually blood sugar imbalances can trigger anxiety. So if you don't eat regular meals, can lead to blood sugar drops and blood sugar imbalances. Same goes when we're eating too much sugar, or when we, for example, drinking coffee, what I just mentioned. So when we eat the diets for kids also in a high in refined sugar and processed food, leads to those sugar crashes. And we all know, and you probably know, if you had a child who were going on lollies, lots on the chocolate during any of the holidays, popular with chocolates, and then we say, oh God, look at it, got a sugar crash. It's so hyperactive for, let's say, 15 for half an hour, then after that crashes. And even sometimes kids get into the very bad mood or start crying, and it's totally unexplained. But actually what's happening, the blood sugar in the body is totally imbalanced with the overload of sugar, or when they let them have at the same, huge amounts instantly. So when you eat sugar, and when kids eat sugar, their body releases hormone insulin to take care of that excess of sugar in our bloodstream. But too much sugar can make difficult for their body to balance blood sugar levels and create a balance in the body. So that leads to those sugar crashes and ups and downs in the mood, which can trigger anxiety, obviously triggering stress response, trigger nervousness and sadness, irritability. So people that experience anxiety, depression, insomnia, trembling, racing heart, dizziness, forgetfulness, in one study they were also consuming diet high in refined carbohydrates and sugars and lots of caffeine. And once they were put on a low sugar, high protein and caffeine free diet, their blood sugar levels even up, and their anxiety symptoms really reduced and resolved. However, in that study they noticed if they go back again on a very high carbohydrate, simple carbohydrates and sugars diet, the symptoms will come back and the anxiety will be triggered again. So, according to another study, adding more protein, good fats and fiber to diet may improve anxiety, mood, concentration, energy, and blood sugar issues in anybody who's suffering from anxiety, especially generalized anxiety, and who also suffering with hypoglycemia, what is just the pre-diabetes condition. Once they return as I said, to that former diets with the overload of sugar and caffeine, they would again go back with the symptoms and of anxiety and triggering the previous anxiety states. So I'll give you just a couple of simple examples with my clients. So I had a child who was suffering with debilitating anxiety, OCD, a lot of behavioral issues. What we found that underlying issue and cause was severe food sensitivities. His gut was really loaded with candida overgrowth and yeast overgrowth that was causing anxieties and causing severe nutritional deficiencies, because child was eating good balanced diet. However, because gut was very inflamed and imbalanced, he couldn't absorb the nutrients from the food, so he was deficient in many minerals and vitamins. So when that was mitigated and fixed, and his gut healed, deficiency addressed with certain supplements, he was getting much better, really noticeably. Another example, little girl, she had a tics anxiety. She needed a lot of help with her school work. And what we found that underlying cause was dairy, that she was sensitive on dairy. So eliminating dairy and adding some probiotics and addressing some nutritional deficiencies, child felt much better within 2 months and performed much better in the school. So definitely some nutritional deficiencies due to possibly gut issues, due to standard Western diet and not nourishing diet can cause lots of problems and trigger anxieties in children and whole family. So how we can reduce anxiety naturally? So conventional treatment of anxiety often include, that many of you know probably, pharmaceutical medications. However, those medications will help with the symptoms of anxiety for a short time, and that's very important sometimes when kids suffering with very bad symptoms. However, that would be just a band-aid for that anxiety situation in their cases for some time. Because if we don't find out and address underlying cause of anxiety, anxiety symptoms and anxiety will come back after some time when child is on medication. So you will be happy to know that definitely we can do that natural way, and once we pinpoint what is the cause of anxiety, we can work on it and reduce anxiety symptoms treating natural ways through nutritional changes and lifestyle changes, and appropriate, if needed, appropriate supplementation to boost up their nutritional deficiencies. So many clinical research really confirmed that and shown that interventions in diet can make a big difference in anxiety, in cases of anxiety in children, and behavioral changes like autism, ADHD, and many others. Nutrition is foundation for, and why is that? Nutrition is foundation for everything, so look at it first before you're thinking to, if not necessary, of course, sending child to the doctor and getting medication first, or sending child to the speech therapist. So look, if possible, by yourself, if anything in nutrition of your whole family or for your child could be done and changed. And if you get stuck, of course, you should ask the help of your natural health practitioner like nutritionist or naturopath to give you support and help you with that. But nutrition and lifestyle changes could really make a huge difference that you can't even believe if you never try that. There are specific type of nutritional interventions that could be applied, but it's important to find out what is the best for your child. So should be individualized for your child. I already talked and mentioned that in the previous videos. Every child, every person is really unique, and we have to look at the child, not a condition that the child might suffer from. And especially in this case, when we're looking at nutrition and the diets, it is really important to look at a child as a whole family unit. Because if we are going on to changing child's diet and improving child's diet, it won't work if we don't look and do that on the level of the whole family. Because of course, child not gonna comply to any dietary changes if their siblings or their parents eating something totally different while they eating different foods from them. So what I usually do and what I usually assess when I have a child as a client who's suffering from mental health issues like anxiety. So what I'm looking at, what could be done, like first of all, we try to eliminate and reduce and eliminate sugar, all added sugars in the diet, corn syrup, and all additives like that that can stabilize anxiety and behavioral issues. So reducing additives like sweeteners, preservatives, colors, some of these kids could be much more sensitive on those additives than some other kids don't have a sensitivity on that at all, or any other adults in the family circle. Looking at hydration, or getting child enough water into them, not just sodas and sugary drinks. Food sensitivities. Some kids that are suffering from behavioral changes and anxieties, kids on spectrum can have allergies and sensitivities, like they can suffer as a celiac disease on gluten, or some of them can't eat at all dairy, or they could be sensitive on many of these additives or heavy metals that are found in the foods and environmental toxins. Specific nutrients relating on behavioral problems give them brain building blocks, so improving attention, aggression. So we're looking usually of omega-3s, iron, and other vitamin mineral levels, and if that needs to be pumped up. And as a parent, if you are overwhelmed, you can try to do that by yourself, but if you're finding that you're overwhelmed with that, you might again ask for support from your natural health practitioner and naturopath, because yes, you can do some changes, but you can also miss some important bits and pieces on the way of adjusting the diet and nutrition for your child. So whenever possible, I make, when I, in any cases with my clients, I make those nutritional changes for the whole family, as I mentioned, because it's better for everyone, and little ones would really comply if all changes are applied on the whole family. And it helps, of course, whole family to feel better and be more nourished all together as a unit. So the following main strategies to take on our way to reduce anxiety and living a more enjoyable life. First of all, it's reducing the food sensitivities, because as I said, they may trigger anxiety, and common food sensitivities are sugars, gluten, dairy, corn, soy, some nuts like peanuts, alcohol. For adults. However, you may find some others that especially triggers just for your child and for your family member. So to identify your food sensitivities, you may try to do that by yourself, by elimination diet. You can Google that, you can do it on your own, or again, if you're stuck, ask your naturopath to help you with that. You can try blood tests and many other types of tests that's available to see what food sensitivities might exist for your child. Or if you ask for help and support from your naturopath, there are many functional testing that are very reliable and that could be specific for your child's situation to identify what food sensitivities they might suffering from. Once you identify food sensitivity, it is important to remove those food items totally from the diet, as they may trigger anxiety all the time and lead to inflammation, pain, and other health issues. Then second one, as I already mentioned, is reducing sugars and processed food. So how we can do that? We can do that by eating a diet rich in fiber and plant foods, so vegetables and fruits and legumes and pulses to give the microbiome lots of good food because they need to survive, because we depend on that microbiome, what is residing mostly in our gut, what I will talk about tomorrow. Because the fiber is prebiotic, and that's what our microbiome is feeding on. So if we don't have that bacteria in the gut, if we don't have a balanced gut with lots of good bacteria and small amounts of bad bacteria, Fiber won't be able to be broken, digested. Many other foods won't be able to be broken, digested, and nutrients spread around to all our cells. In the large intestine, for example, the microbiome consume fiber and turn it into short chain fatty acids, which play many important roles in our health. And fiber, I'm not sure if you know that, many of you know, many of not, are found in many of our fruits, especially in leek, garlic, onions, artichokes, asparagus, cabbage, bananas, apple, pear, legumes like beans and lentils, and seeds and nuts. And some of the things that I always, because of that, always repeat to my clients all the time, and the main things what they can start changing in their nutritional dietary process is, first of all, increasing the fruit and vegetables intake for their children and the whole family, eating the rainbow diet of plant products, fresh produce. So when we're buying the vegetables and fruit, looking at all different colors of vegetable and fruits to be implemented in a weekly diet. Eating the balanced diet, so we can should eat about 80% of the time all good, nourishing, healthy diet, and maybe 20% of time have some treats and be a little bit bad with the diet. Rotate our foods all the time. Don't eat always same old, because that can trigger many food sensitivities, especially in people who are already sensitive on some food items that we already know. And eat more organic and locally produced foods, which will reduce the possibility that we intake chemicals into via foods into our body. Another thing, and last thing, is increasing the probiotic foods. Probiotics foods are full of probiotics, which actually just can help and increase the number of good microbiome in our gut. So probiotics foods are usually fermented foods, which are rich in natural occurring probiotics, can give a gut boost. And they can include kefirs, like a yogurt or kefir water, sauerkrauts, kimchi, kombuchas, and soya fermented products. So many foods like that should be eaten regularly. A special diet is important for healing, but with so many diets claiming to be just one the best, which one you should choose? Do you know? How do you know? As I said, that goes very similar and same to one diagnosis can't really cut for several people, because each person is unique. Same goes with the diet. We always have to, and what I always do is individualize the diet for the child in front of me, for the client in front of me. So it's not only what's happening in general for all population, it's what's happening for the client in front of me, and we have to adjust changes according to that. What foods they tolerate, what they don't tolerate, and what they could be sensitive to. Because diet is a process that will change around as a child is healed, and then a child will definitely feel better. Main things to remember about what we talk about today is that there are so many underlying biochemical issues, but at the end chronic disease is definitely causing inflammation, gut issues, and behavioral issues in children. If we just looking underlying factors, biochemical changes, it doesn't matter what it is the name of condition. We don't need to diagnose that condition. We can apply individualized nutrition, what I just said, and to the child in front of me. Diet is not fixed and might change and evolve depending how is client progressing in their healing. So one diet is definitely not helping you keep and looking for answers just in your case. Addressing that underlying biochemical issues, it can help evolve that diet over time and adjust it for the child. Because many chronic conditions, including anxiety, have similar underlying chemistry and similar dietary principles that could be applied. And in healing, we definitely want to remove things that cause problems and add nourishing things to the diet for our child. So definitely keep the hope, believe that is everything possible, try new things, keep going and keep looking for answers. And if you are stuck, ask for help from your nutritionist or naturopath. So today we learned about nutrition and what kind of nutrients we should feed our children to avoid triggering of anxiety, and what kind of diets, those standard Western diets, and what are causing, what kind of health problems and issues they're causing in our children and in our whole family. Tomorrow, I hope that you enjoyed today, and if you have any questions, please put the questions below the video, and I will answer them as soon as I can, or you can direct message me. And tomorrow we will attempt to do very, very important topic about gut health of your children. What is it? Central could be central problem for many chronic health conditions, including anxiety and mental health issues. So we will look about tomorrow about gut and brain connections, how that connection works, and ways connection there. Talk about gut microbiome, dysbiosis and intestinal permeability, also called leaky gut, and what is neuroinflammation and how it's developed and connected to your child's anxiety. So please stay tuned and see you tomorrow and to talk about gut health. Bye.